Welcome back to another Create Mod video. In this one, we are going over some Create 6.0 compatible iron farms that are actually pretty compact and produce a ton of iron per hour. I'm going to be going over two farms today, including how to set up the schematic and two block-by-block tutorials for each of them. They are both relatively similar. One is just pretty much double the size, double the stress units, and double the output as the other. Both outputs will be just in a barrel, but you can obviously put those where you want them to go. And they're both using new cobblestone generators for the Create 6.0 farms with our standard drill system instead of kind of the old Create 0.5 shifty platform one that's a little bit complicated. So these are a lot easier to build, a lot easier to set up, and probably more beginner friendly. So we're going to start first with schematics. We're going to start with this one here and then move on to this one. But for everyone doing the block by block tutorial, you can skip ahead to the timestamp on the screen now, and we can get started. There will be chapters in the description for everything that you may want to go to, but we're going to first start with building the smaller farm and then go on to the larger one. Now let's move on to setting up the schematic. We're going to start with the small one and then move on to the big one. You could check the chapters in the video to see which one if you're only trying to build the big one. But let's get started with the smaller one. The first thing we're going to want to do is put lava up on top of all of the cobblestone blocks that are there, and then go underneath to see which of the two mechanical drills has trapdoors on the bottom of it. Since it's on this side for me, I'm going to go up to the top here and waterlog all of these drills, and we check to make sure the trapdoors are underneath so that the water doesn't spill out. We're also then going to go through and make sure all of the item vaults are correctly situated. As you can see over on the big one here, this is not how it's supposed to look like, so we're just making sure that everything looks as it's supposed to. Usually to do this, I just break and replace them and make sure this is a 2x2 vault. And then over here, make sure this one up on the front near the barrel side is a 3x1 vault, so that it goes all the way up until this andesite funnel. And then this one is just too wide, so it goes for this brass funnel. Also make sure all the andesite funnels are facing downward. They should already be. And then over on the back here, this is where you're going to power it. You may need to change up some of these gearboxes depending on the orientation with which you placed it. If that's the case, that's a create mod thing. There's nothing I can do about it. But in order to power it, we're going to power it from the back here. Bump that all the way up to full speed and then make sure that everything is going the correct way. If everything is going backwards, then you know something's wrong. If some things are backwards, like this belt here, you're going to need to do some thinking, so get strapped in. This belt is being powered from these two encased chain drives right here. And I think the way we need to fix this is to instead grab two cogwheels and put them next to each other like so. That will correctly direct this belt, but will now have this belt be inverted. So to avoid that, I think we could just put a gearbox here instead of what I had before with the encased chain drives, and then everything should be going the right way. But that should now be working. All we need to do now is over in this encased fan, it is blowing on a leaf block. We may want to just break this encased chain drive real quick, waterlog the leaf block, place it back, and we should see that this is now blowing forward. Make sure you have particles turned on, but it looks like it's actually pulling for us, which means that this is also going backwards. Since that's the case, I'm actually going to just invert this to a different direction, and now you can see that everything is going backwards. No worries, we can replace back in our encased chain drives here, and everything should be going the correct way, except for this one thing. That's easy enough to figure out. I've actually just realized that our crushing wheels are also going the right way, so just break and replace that shaft and we'll be good. So what I did here, these encased chain drives have actually stayed the same. I've inverted this to the wrong direction, and I've placed in a gearbox here when there used to be two encased chain drives. I've also replaced this shaft here with a gearbox, and everything is working as expected. One thing I forgot to mention, we need to put a lava bucket in this cauldron so we can properly throw out our flint. Just make sure you put on your thinking brain when you're doing this. Now we can move on to our larger iron farm. The first step we're going to do is break and replace our item vaults so that they fit properly and are a 3x3 the whole way across, and these smaller ones over here are 2x2s. You can see that when they're connected like so, there's not like a line in here separating the two item vaults, meaning they are likely connected. Next, we're going to place in water on both of these oak leaves on either side of the farm, and then we're also going to waterlog these drills up here. Should have 5 drills over on this side, on the side, and then 5 on the other side. Over on this side now, we're going to need lava going into this cauldron over here and the same one on the other side. Something I totally forgot to mention, so before you turn on the farm, do this. Make sure you put in lava on these 3 blocks here in line with our drills up top so that we can generate cobblestone on the sides here. Once those are in, we're going to need to power this thing. We're going to power it from this side at the rotation speed controller, and this is when things may be going backwards. You can see for us, it looks like our crushing wheels are going the correct direction, but our fan is backwards. So that's one thing we're going to need to change. That may be the only thing which could actually be a good thing. So in order to fix this, I'm actually going to invert our rotation speed controller, and that will invert our crushing wheels, but make sure our encased fan is going the right way. To re-invert the crushing wheels to go the correct direction, we're going to replace the gearbox over here with a shaft, and this on the other side, replace a shaft with a gearbox, and then we're good. This may not happen to you, it may be going the correct direction, but if it's not, just make sure you do that. Once that's happening though, we should be getting iron in here, which means it's working. I accidentally placed the schematic in. So we have iron now, that means it's working. So to start building our smaller of the two farms, we are going to first start with the cobblestone generator kind of up to the top of the build here. We're gonna need a 5 by 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 block tall area. And we're gonna start in the center here with a temporary block and then our first item vault here for our actual cobblestone generator. We're gonna go 5 blocks across so that the first 3 are a connected item vault and then the last 2 are a separate connected item vault. We're gonna have brass funnels coming out of the right side of the item vault here that will eventually be going onto belts, but for now just into the air. On top of this item vault here, we're gonna be placing in andesite funnels facing downward. If they're facing upward like so, just right click them with a wrench and it'll invert it. On top of these funnels, we're gonna shift right click in cobblestone and then put drills on either side. On the other side of one of the sides of the drills, it doesn't actually matter. I'm just doing the right side here. We're gonna place in trapdoors and then put them on the both sides so that we can place in water without it flowing out the sides. Now we can waterlog all of these drills. We can then place in trapdoors all around the top of these drills, including these like weird side bits, since we're gonna be placing in lava in this middle area and we don't want it flowing outward. Now we can do that, so let's just place in lava sources all the way along here. It obviously doesn't need to be lava sources. I think you can get away with just one source in the center and it'll flow everywhere that you need and that'll work great. Now we can move on to our cobblestone collection and processing system. We're gonna place in 3 shafts and then 1 diagonally above it here. We're gonna connect these 2 with a belt, these 2 with a belt, and then we should have a little upward system like so. For now, we're gonna place in 2 encased chain drives here, and then 2 more connecting these 2 belts together. We will eventually work on connecting these 2 together, but for now we don't need to. Over on this side, we're gonna place in a shaft that is sideways and not connected to anything at the moment. And then we're gonna have that going all the way up to be in line with our andesite funnels here and connect those with a shaft. We're then gonna get in another belt here that goes to the second andesite funnel like so. And then this is where our crushing wheels are gonna be. We can get those in now, I suppose. 2 sets of crushing wheels on either side. And then we're gonna need to grab a brass funnel and have it dropping out in between both of these. Below our left crushing wheel, we're gonna place in a block of leaves. It can be literally any that you want. I'm just using oak leaves here. And then we're gonna place in an encased fan behind it facing towards the leaves themselves. We're gonna then waterlog these leaves blocks because this will be used to wash our gravel into iron and unfortunately flint. Over on our right crushing wheel, we're gonna place in a 2x2 item vault that should kind of pop into existence, and then we're gonna place in a funnel with flint as the filter and another one as iron nuggets as the filter. Under the flint one, we're gonna place in a cauldron and fill it with a bucket of lava so that it'll throw out our flint. Obviously, you don't need to do this if you want to keep the flint for whatever reason, but I don't want it. Next, we're gonna place in 2 shafts here and a belt connecting them so that we can transfer our iron over to what is going to be our pressing system right here. Speaking of this pressing system, let's get that in now. We're gonna place in a basin here with the filter of, let's check it, iron ingots and blocks of iron. This will just make sure that you're only creating those things instead of something else stupid that may be added by other mods. And then we're gonna have an andesite belt funnel going into the basin here so that it'll pick up any nuggets and place them straight in. Above this basin, we're actually gonna need to break this trapdoor and place in a mechanical press. That will make it so that we can press our nuggets into ingots. And now I think is a good time to start powering and connecting things to power. So over on this side, we're going to connect in our mechanical press and all of the drills with a bunch of encased chain drives. Then we're going to place in 2 shafts over on the other side of our mechanical press and place in more encased chain drives all the way along like so. Now we can get in the connecting to power our belt here and both of these crushing wheels. So we're going to place in 2 encased chain drives here, rotate it and place in another one. This is somehow a part of the game and is on purpose. I don't know why this is the case, but it works and is allowed to work. And then over here, we're gonna place in another encased chain drive using the same method so that it's facing downwards, and then place in a vertical gearbox to connect this belt up to our drills and such. Over on this other side, we're gonna place in another 2 encased chain drives to power up our crushing wheel, and then we're gonna place a vertical gearbox in between the two. Let's head over to here and connect up this belt with this one. To do that, we're gonna place in two normal gearboxes. So if you have a vertical one, just right click it with a wrench and it'll convert it to a normal gearbox. So have them both like so. And then I suspect that is most of it. But there is one thing I have omitted up until now. In this little gap here, we're gonna place in two more encased chain drives to connect this set of encased chain drives over to this belt here. Now that we've done that, we can connect in our gearbox here to our encased fan, and then we're gonna need another gearbox here to connect it up to this encased chain drive. For now, we'll place a shaft here, but you may need to change this later. The last thing we need to do, at least I think, is place in a rotation speed controller and a cogwheel, and this is where our power is going to come in. For most instances, you're gonna wanna place in a encased chain drive like so to connect up this belt, and then we can connect it to power. Depending on your orientation, things may be backwards, and for me, that is the case. As you can see, this belt is going backwards here, and our crushing wheels are likely also going backwards. Yeah, that seems to be the case. If your encased fan is going backwards and is not pushing blue particles, make sure you have particles turned on, you'll have to invert our rotation speed controller, and then you may see some things being different. I suspect your belt here should be going the correct way. It should be heading towards this belt, and your encased fan should be blowing. When those are both in the right spot, that means you know your rotation speed controller is going the correct direction. If things like this belt is going backwards, that's fine, and if your crushing wheels are backwards, that's also fine. To invert your crushing wheels, you're just going to need to place in a gearbox here instead of a shaft, and then the same is kind of true over here with this belt. Instead of two encased chain drives, just a gearbox, and that'll be going the correct way. Now let's move on to our final bit of item collection to actually collect our iron ingots. So to do this, we're going to come back over to our farm, place in a depot, place in a barrel diagonally above it, and then a funnel going into it. And this is going to be our output. You can connect this up back to your main base. You can do whatever. That's where you're going to get iron. Now let's move on to the bigger of the two farms. This thing is going to take up 34 almost 1,000 stress units, but will generate over 1,300 iron per hour, but is a little bit bigger. It is going to take up a 7 by 7 by, I think, 7 blocks tall. Yep, by 7 blocks tall area. However, some bits of the floor are going to be used for this, since we're going to need to, over here, this is fan things. So you will need a floor block, whatever that may be. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, I'm using smooth stone. You obviously don't have to. We're gonna start with the cobblestone generator. So a 3 by 3 area here, and we're gonna go 5 blocks deep with this. So you should have an item vault that is a 3 by 3 by 5 and should take up most of the space in your 7 by 7, leaving a gap at the front, 2 on the sides, and a gap at the back. From there, we're gonna grab andesite funnels and place them all facing downward into our item vault. If they're facing upward, just right click them with a wrench and it'll flip it around. We're gonna place in cobblestone on top of that. On either sides of the cobblestone, we're gonna place it in drills. We're also gonna do that up on the top. Shift right click and it'll place it away from you, which is how I'm doing that instead of doing this. Shift right click. We're then gonna connect those drills up with encased chain drives. We're not gonna connect them together just yet, but we'll need to do this eventually, so might as well do it now. We're then gonna need to get in our trapdoors to prevent water and lava from flowing outward. You don't need these to be trapdoors, they can be full blocks if you wish. I'm just doing trapdoors because I think they look better. You're gonna do it on all of the drills that are sideways facing, because we're gonna be placing in water here, which you can now do once you've done the trapdoors. And then in this area in the middle, we're gonna need to do it so that lava doesn't flow outward. To place in our lava, we're gonna place it on the 3 mechanical drills in the center, leaving the last 2 on either side because the lava is gonna flow out 1 block anyway. There we go, our cobblestone farm is pretty much done. We're then going to extend on the back side here all of our encased chain drives, and then we're gonna need to connect them all together. I'm gonna do it with a shaft and a gearbox. In this build, in the schematic, I do it with encased chain drives. It doesn't matter as long as they're connected. So let's connect it up here. We're gonna place in a shaft, vertical gearbox, shaft, vertical gearbox, and shaft. And then we're going to connect up the vertical gearboxes to our drill encased chain drives with another shaft. Now let's get on to our iron processing systems. These are going to be mirrored on either side just because I think it looks better, and we need 2 sets of crushing wheels anyway. So we do kind of need it. And in order to do this, we're going to get a brass funnel on the middle of either side. And before, I don't actually know how I have cobblestone in here, but you probably don't. Make sure the funnel is facing outward and it's set to 64 exactly. We're going to place in crushing wheels on either side so that it's dropping into the center of them. And then underneath here on the back right side, we're going to place in a leaves block with encased fan facing towards it. We're then going to mirror this on the other side, so just bear with me. Exactly 64, crushing wheels, leaves block, encased fan. We then need to connect both of these to power, so we're going to do 2 gearboxes here, and then a shaft over on the back side, vertical gearbox going into an encased chain drive that connects up to our fan here. Let's do the same thing over on this side here. Gearboxes, shaft in the middle, shaft, vertical gearbox, and then encased chain drives. And we can move on to our iron ingot processing. We're going to place in a 2x2 item vault in front of our crushing wheels here, and then we're probably going to want to just break our crushing wheels and stuff. We can put this back in a second. We're going to place in a brass funnel going into our item vault here. This will have the filter of iron nuggets and flint set to allow list ignore data, and put that in the filter there. We can then place back in our crushing wheels, and then let's move over to the front side. We're going to place in iron nuggets over on the right side, and then flint on the left with a cauldron underneath and basin underneath the iron. I've set the filter of the basin to iron ingots and blocks of iron just to avoid any crafting of things that we don't want. And then above the basin, we're going to place in a mechanical press. Let's switch this around slightly so that it is facing sideways. To power our mechanical press, we're going to place in a vertical gearbox over on the side, a shaft above it, and then an encased chain drive facing downward. We're going to mirror this on the other side, so let's get all of this in as well. Just a reminder, item vault here, brass funnel going in with the list filter that we've already set, all of this back, and then we have iron, flint, cauldron, basin, press, easy. The outputs of both of these basins are going to go onto depots that we're putting on the floor, a barrel in front here, and then brass funnels going into our barrel from either side. In both of our cauldrons, we're going to place in a bucket of lava, and then over in these leaves blocks, we're going to be placing in a bucket of water. Now that we have that, we should be good to connect it up to power, which is going to be done in the back here. First, we're going to place in a rotation speed controller facing sideways, a large cogwheel on top, and then a vertical gearbox to the side, connecting up to our encased chain drive here. We're going to place in another encased chain drive, but instead of a vertical gearbox, we're going to go shafts all the way up, and the same is true over on this side. Once we have that, we can connect this to power, and we should see some stuff start happening. So first and foremost, our fan on this side is pushing, which is exactly what we want, and same over here. They both need to be pulling. If that is the case, you can break this block and invert this thing, and then they'll both be going the right way. Our crushing wheels are going the correct way on this side. Our cobble is falling through. They're getting crushed, all good there. Over on this side, though, it doesn't look like that's happening. They're just hanging up top here because our crushing wheels are actually going backwards. If that's happening for you, on whatever side it is, since it will be asymmetric, you just need to break and replace the shaft that is there with a gearbox, and it'll start going the right way. We should then see gravel being pushed over here, being washed, and as soon as it turns into flint and iron nuggets, gets put into the vault to get processed. We can see it's working on this side since it's had a little bit of time since our side over here was backwards. But once we get iron nuggets going out into here, then we'll know that it is working properly. There we go. That got pressed. We have iron in our barrel. That is everything working then. And those are the 2 iron farms that I was going to go over in this episode. I hope you did enjoy it. These things are super helpful. They're using the Create 6 cobblestone generators that are way better and faster than most of the Create 0.5 ones. These are both great. Stay tuned for more Create 6 tutorials in the future. Some of them are going to actually be quite handy, like potentially an andesite farm, which actually needs some of the flint that we have here. So we may want to have a multi-purpose system going on or something, but that'll be for a future video. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to subscribe, like the video, check out some of my other tutorials if you're interested. I have a ton on my channel. There's a playlist of them all if you're interested in that sort of thing. But that'll be all. I suppose that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time.